Still on the Self-Esteem Queen, and we are back for another review of Preachers of LA Season 1, Episode 7. Man, TV is the devil. TV is the devil, you guys. Oh my god. This show starts with Lavette meeting up with the other ladies. They haven't, I guess, seen Dominique since the tea party, and so they're meeting up with her for lunch. And during this time, we find out that Maisha is the one that does gospel. Well, her church is the one that puts on the Long Beach Gospel Fest. I never knew that, so I learned something new. I've never been, but I learned something new. And as the executive pastor, it's her job to do a lot of the different parts for it, and so they're talking about that. And then the conversation turns to Dominique asking the girls, the women, what like how do they keep their relation. Like, I don't know why everybody's so afraid to talk about sex. They all got kids. Like, why is everybody afraid to talk about sex? What? Like, you can't tell me this stuff isn't scripted anyway, or loosely scripted. This just can't be real life. I've never met a pastor that's afraid to talk about sex like that, just in a conversation. Like, it was crazy. And then when Dominique finally said sex, then everybody loosened up. And then you find out that Lavette, that's Gangsta Gibson's wife, likes to, do it in, random places. And, Maisha says, I want to do it frequently. And, then the other one says that Jay doesn't even know he's not 17. It's like, what? Y'all could have just said that. I mean, you said you wanted to be real about people. Real people they use the word sex. It's real. It happens. People do it. She had a kid out of wedlock. We already know she's having sex. Thank you. So, then we find out Dietrich's parents are coming to town. And there is some animosity between his parents and Dominique. Maisha asks, is that because, you kind of just popped up with a kid or whatever? And they got really loose with the questions they asked her, I have to say. Like, it just seemed to be just a very loose question and answer based upon their last meeting at the tea party, which didn't, go over all that well. So they seem to be loose around each other. I think that's great. Then we go to Bishop Jones. He's sick and he's talking to his manservant, or the driver, his assistant. I don't always stop to look at the titles of what these people, the different people are. So you have to, it's like not shade or anything like that. I just don't stop to look at the titles. But he's having a conversation with this guy, and, he's basically saying that, he doesn't feel good and he needs to figure out what it is. And this guy is like, well, I know you better than anybody. And, it's depression coupled with something else. Like, you need a good woman. And, like, so then it goes to Dietrich and Dominique, and they're finally sitting down and talking about, I guess, some things they haven't talked about. And this is where I say, come on, you guys, you can't tell me this is not scripted. So they're talking about they're going to finally tell his parents that they eloped. And they go into this conversation where Dominique basically reveals that his family threw a lot of shade at her when she had this kid. And Dietrich comes back and says, well, they didn't know you. And, you could have just been some random chick, trying to have my baby for money, and so on and so forth. And outsider looking in, why on earth did you not, what's the problem in your family dynamic, right? To whereas you're separated, getting a divorce, dating somebody else, and you can't even tell your dad or your mom, you don't have that type of relationship with them, and you're a minister too. I love that this show puts a real spin on what really happens in real families when people come to Christ and they decide to do things a little differently than other people who have come to Christ. I have family members who want me to hold in the fact that I was molested by my uncle. They want me to not talk about the prostitution that I went through while living in my dad's mother's house. They want me to sugarcoat things when the reality is that I think that my father's mother is an angel from earth. I think she does great things for other people, just not me. And in that same light, just the same way that I'm a minister and I go and I heal people, Dietrich, he heals people through his music. Okay, he had premarital sex. People do that in the congregation. He had a kid out of wedlock. People do that in congregation. Why on earth do we have a whole storyline around the fact that this dude eloped? They should be happy that they eloped. They should be happy to say, listen, the tradition is da 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 da. I hope when they show the wedding at the end that they really show them coming out and saying, you know, we're doing this all for you because we've already got married. And the reality is that they could have done that before the show. And furthermore, why are they keeping it a secret from everybody? Why is it a secret that you guys have finally gotten married and you're making good on this on this union? Like, I don't get it. And I might be the only one that doesn't get it, but I don't get it. We find out that Dietrich's parents are going to be staying at Dominique and Dietrich's house. They come on by. It's a very awkward situation, not much to talk about there. Then we go to Pastor Cheney. He's at his house with his wife and the kids, and it's great to see family life is just like everybody else's family life out there. And they're talking about Gospel Fest. It's now that I find out that Maisha, she's a singer, and you know, Gospel Fest is especially important to her because she gets to perform. And I think that it's great that she probably is going to put a lot of energy into Gospel Fest and making sure that it's perfect because she's going to be performing. And you know, who would not want to close the show and it be a total catastrophe and mess? So all this stuff that they have you thinking, oh, 3 minutes before the show, like, I ain't never heard of no Gospel Fest having no problems. And if it had problems, I'm sure the problems were resolved and it was small and minute. So I feel like whatever they're going to talk about on here is going to be exaggerated. I'm just going to say that. And that's what I felt before I even saw this. I was like, all that, my spirit told me all that was just exaggeration. There's no reason at all for somebody to, you know, be upset about a sound check not going right. I mean, it's not like it's a Kanye West concert. It's not like people are about, or Justin Bieber. They're not gonna like rush the stage because I just feel like they putting 1,000 on 100 for TV, and the fact that people don't see that this is exaggerated is crazy to me. Help me. The next scene lets you know that Dietrich really is probably the executive producer of this show because he really gets to come on hard and really let you know what's really going on in the family dynamic in his family. And I think people will go from not liking Dietrich to really respecting Dietrich because a lot of what he's going through is what a lot of other people go through in their families. So he's at dinner with his family. He's going to finally tell them that he eloped. He tells them, you know, that this is, you know, basically a celebration for his wife because she went through a lot when she was pregnant and all the stuff that she went through. She deserves this celebration. Like, first of all, that was dope, you know, because for his parents to be like holier than thou, it was really nice for him to stand up and say, this is what it is. Like, we're already married. We'll have the celebration, the ceremony and all that, but we're already married. So the issue and where it really hits the fan is he says, so now that I'm married, I can go back to preaching. And his dad says, well, you know, you have to get that through me because when you fail. Now listen, I don't know who cheated on who. You know, I don't really read all that stuff on the internet, so I don't really know who cheated on who and why the first marriage broke up and all that. But with all due respect, his daddy sound crazy. Now, that's how I remember the AME church to be. Not that I'm here to bash, I'm just here to tell about my experiences in different churches that I've been in. The AME church was like that. Like, you had to get permission to do this and do that. And listen, if you have somebody that's a compulsive gambler, okay, on the board of people who counts the money after I pass it in every month, and you okay with that? And you know he's a compulsive gambler? That's what I experienced in the AME church, honey, and I just don't, a pastor touched me inappropriately, and nobody believed me, and then years later he stole lots of money and had the AME church right here in South Central in bankruptcy, and then they, then he sold the house that belonged to the church, and the AME church just conveniently moved his ass to Oakland. I mean, the same way that priests cover up sexual abuse scandals is the same way that some of the black churches cover up a lot of things that are happening. And Dietrich exposed it. And I mean, if I have my C-Walk, homie, dude, like, he exposed it. His parents are kind of, and a lot of people that, are really into the structure of whatever their denomination is, are, because these are rules, right, that are set up. There's a reason why the church, right, that I belong to happens to be the world, and why I walk the earth like Jesus healing people. Honey, because don't put me on no pedestal, and don't put me behind no thing called no pulpit. Don't give me no mic unless I'm speaking to a crowd to heal the world. And afterwards, I'm not asking for money. Just saying. And nobody can tell me to step down and step back up. Listen, his dad was talking some craziness, okay? His dad was like, because when you fail and you got to come back through me. And Dietrich was like, what if I don't want to be minister at your church? His dad doesn't matter. His dad's like, it doesn't matter. What? Y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. Gospel Fest is finally here. They're an hour into it, and the sound check hasn't been done, so the sound isn't working. They have to call Pastor Cheney. He comes up there, and it's great that you get to see that even though he's a minister, he said it was only going to take a few more minutes before somebody had they socks knocked off. Feel me? Like, you're not about to do this in front of all these cameras, and y'all better get it right. Don't embarrass me. And then just like that, it worked. Like it all works out in the end. And so I'm going to need you people that watch reality TV to calm down, because this is the only show that I watch, and I promise you, I can see how you get elevated at these exaggerations of real life. But, girl, these ain't real life, girl. I mean, what, girl? So Bishop Jones goes to the doctor. The doctor tells him that his cholesterol is high, his blood pressure is high, he should slow down, something the doctor has been telling him for years. He decides, I need to go see Loretta, because the doctor said you need somebody that can watch over you. He didn't specifically say Loretta, but I'm sure that Pastor Bishop Jones said, God said, this is Godformation, that you want this woman in my life. So he meets up with Loretta. And, he asked Loretta, what do you want? She said, what are you willing to give? And he don't like to give. So somebody's going to have to give in this relationship. And it's great that, she has held out this long, because 13 years, 16 years, however, is a long time. So she says that she has to think about it. And he's like, oh, you trying to, break my heart? And she's like, yeah, I've been waiting on this for 13 years. So, give me a little time. Dominique is sitting with Dietrich's mom. Now, here's the thing. We know it's really some mess, because the little girl is like older than 1 year old, right? I don't know how old she is, but she's older than 1. So that means that they haven't seen their grandkid. Is this true? Like, there's more to, I said it in another review. There's more to that story. And that, in and of itself, should be a show alone. Because that is the truth behind ministry in America. When Creflo Dollar got arrested for hitting his daughter, beating on his daughter, that's the truth of ministry in America. PKs, preacher kids, aren't always the best kids in the world, because you don't just become a great kid because you're born to a minister. I do, however, believe, let me step on my soapbox for a minute. I believe that a lot of times ministers spend so much time trying to make sure that their church life is perfect that they neglect their home life. And a lot of that has to do with the adultery that happens within the marriage. A lot of that contributes to the kids being disorderly. You know what they say about preachers' kids. I think that there has to be an equal balance. And sometimes when you're running a whole church, you don't have that balance, because you have all these, the more members you get, the more problems you get. There are more people who come to you for advice, and you can't turn people away. At that same time, if you don't spend that quality time with your family, then how are you helping your family in the end? You're not. And so your family life deteriorates while maybe your church life flourishes. We see that that basically is what happened with Noel Jones. So, you know, it's really difficult, I think, for me to, I don't know, it's just difficult to see all this. But anyway, at the same time, I'm happy, because I think it's really important that you reality TV show people, and I'm not knocking anybody that watches it. I'm just too busy to sit and watch TV, but I can understand how you would judge somebody. However, if you really knew, like if you really knew, if you peeled back the onions of Dietrich Haddon's life, man, you guys would all probably be trying to take that brother out for a nice drink of root beer, because it's not all roses when, you know, your own parents are like judgmental against you to the point where they can't come meet their damn grandkid. That's crazy. You know what I mean? My dad's mom, she doesn't talk to me, and she doesn't come visit my kids. I'm her only biological grandchild, and these are her only biological great grandchildren, but she's out saving the world where she's at. So who am I to judge her work? You know? His dad, Dietrich's dad, is out saving the world where he's at in Detroit. And Dietrich is healing lives on concert as a performer, you know, on stage as a performer. You can't knock how somebody else chooses to serve God. The same way that the person with the bullhorn on the corner that you call crazy says, Jesus is coming to save the world. If God told that person that that's how they're supposed to minister, who are you to say that they're automatically mentally ill because they choose to stand on a corner? Maybe they can't afford a church home. A lot of things are being opened up about judgment, and I think that we should be watching the show for that. You know, these are the things that you should be looking at and checking yourself on. A lot of people are very judgmental of Loretta, but as you see it all play out, she's a very strong woman. It takes a very strong woman to be with a man like him. The reality is that a lot of you women have waited, had kids out of wedlock with somebody, and still never got the dude that you waited on. They have a business partnership. So if all else fails, they still have that business partnership. Some of you have a child with someone who never comes to meet their child. Mama's baby, daddy's maybe. I'm just saying, don't judge. Before, you know, people were like, when I first started doing these reviews, they got on my YouTube page and they were like, I had to block people. Like, I don't want to hear all that, dude. I don't care about what people are doing in their outside life. I'm reviewing the show based upon the show, not based upon the things I know on the outside of the show. Like, you need to be watching the show for what the show is purposed for. And your mind, if your mind is only looking for the mess and you say, well, that episode was boring because, oh, well, there wasn't no, check yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because my God isn't a God of confusion. So if it's a whole bunch of confusion around something, it ain't of God. I sure do know how to go on a tangent, huh? Man. So I'm happy that Dominique and Dietrich's mom made up just in time for the bridal shower. I don't really have much to say about that. I mean, you know, it was done at Loretta's JJ's Bistro, which... Did she name the dog? Did she name the restaurant after the dog? Am I late to this one? Did she name the restaurant after the dog? She knows she got an end to that man, huh? Did she name her restaurant after that dog? If you know Loretta, can you ask Loretta, did she name the restaurant after the dog? Or did he name his dog after the restaurant? Which came first, the restaurant or the dog? I'm confused, but I want to know that little bit of tea. Can I get that tea from somebody? Give me that tea. Give me that tea. Yeah, I can see how you guys really get caught up in people's lives. I just got that. Ain't the dog's name JJ? Okay, anyway. So, I love how they pass around that dollar to each other too on reality TV. Because, you know, I'm sure she could have had it at her nice, big, fancy, badass house. But instead, she chose to have it at JJ's Bistro, and it was a classy event with great classy people, although we all know this is reality TV, and I know for a fact that some of them people that were there were not her really close, great, real friends. So that part, scripted. Sorry to tell you, but that part was scripted. Oh, it was scripted. I saw two people in particular that are not her real friends, and it's just something I know. So I'm just here to let you know that that's all scripted. Anyway. So, Dietrich's mom says a lot of nice things about Dominique, which is really nice in front of all these great people. Then they go to the gifts, and, you know, I just love how Dominique was like, oh, what am I supposed to do with these edible underwear? Like, she don't already have a kid. Come on, knock it off. Like, scripted. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, these are the things that add the little spice in the, you know, like I'm sure that the bridal shower would happen. That's real of the reality TV. But the fact that she would hold up some stuff and say, what am I supposed to do with this? Scripted. You see, you have to be able to know the difference. Discern, people, discern. Discern. In all you're getting, get understanding. Okay? Get that understanding. Anyway, so I think it was a great episode. The finale is supposed to be some blockbuster stuff, because supposedly Noel Jones is not going to be there to officiate the wedding, even though he's one of the only ones that knows that they're already married anyway. And some other stuff happens, and Dominique's mama says, and you didn't tell me the truth, and so on and so forth. And somebody sent me an email and said that, you know, Dominique is pregnant again and they trying to hide it and so on and so forth. And I'm thinking to myself, this stuff was filmed months ago, honey. If she was pregnant, she'd already have the baby by now. So it ain't my business. I don't know and I don't care, but I can't wait till the next episode. And thank you guys for being here. Like it, comment, subscribe, whatever you choose. And after this, I'm going to... My ear. Oh my goodness. You guys has your ear ever itched to the point where you scratch it and you're like, oh my God, I cannot stop. Okay, but I have to. Whew. After I'm done reviewing this show, please don't ask me to review any more other shows. I don't care if they're about God or not. I did this because 7 people asked me, and I don't really need the attention, nor do I need, you know, all the crazies that come with reviewing a show like this. But I have enjoyed it, although I appreciate God for letting me see how you guys can get addicted to this type of TV. Like, I remember when my mom used to like General Hospital, All My Children, and One Life to Live. And I was young, like, oh, what is that? These are just like modern day soap operas. I get it. But I'm going to need y'all to get it too. Okay? It's a soap opera, baby. You know, and you have one of your own. It's called your life. And it would be great if you turn off the TV every once in a while. Like, it don't matter what's happening on Love and Hip Hop. It don't matter what's happening on a new show, an old show. You're watching somebody else live their life while you're not. You're sitting stagnant. Get up, get out, and do something. Please. But I won't be reviewing any more TV shows because it's a lot for me to even just sit down and watch this one. And then I have to take notes too and try to remember everything that happened. Bye, girl. Bye, girl.